Pulvanaka everybody, and welcome to another episode of Stylish. I'm your host Fuzz. Welcome in fact to the first of a three-part finale of Stylish for the year. We are going to be embarking on a designer challenge. In this episode, we introduce you to our four contestants. First up, we have Candice Veramu.
I originally joined fashion in 2017 and I got a scholarship with APTC along with a few of my classmates. It's actually funny because when I was studying the first few weeks that I was in APTC, I had no idea I was on a scholarship until the 6th week. And I didn't know. I thought that, I was just gonna work hard, pay off my, student fees, and yeah, next thing I know, I found out I was on a list and I was like, oh, okay, this is happening. And then from there, it just really hit off. I met amazing people, and I also met Paris there, and Lysiasa, Sugar Rose, I think Ashley, and Pelly, and Sue Samuels, yeah.
So when you were sort of like pursuing this path, did you ever imagine growing up that this would be what you did?
Well, actually surprised myself because I love fashion, but I didn't know that I would become a fashion designer until I grew a love for it.
You mentioned before being a graphic designer.
Yes.
Is there a crossover between being a graphic designer and being a fashion designer?
Yes, with design, sometimes graphics and fashion can merge because you can create digital art, or you can just create like photo shoots, so you have that visualization with computer works, and so that helps with fashion. Yeah.
Do you think that your passion is arts broadly or fashion, or is it both?
I would say I love fashion first because I've always loved clothes. I've always loved like looking at people, admiring them.
Also, do you like clothes on other people, or do you like wearing clothes?
Oh, both. I know sometimes I walk in town and I'm like, oh, that's nice. Oh, she looks really good. And then, even you, I think you look great. So.
Thank you. So do I.
Yeah.
Which way do you think your aesthetic leans?
Okay.
So I see the way that you dress, for example, but you mentioned your contemporaries such as Paris and Epeli Tuimbenga and Ashley Dunimbao. You've got and Lysiasa. So you've got people with all very sort of different aesthetics, and aesthetic is everything in fashion. So
it sure is, because fashion shows your personality, and for mine, it is traditional. I love traditional Fijian culture. I love the masi, I love the culture, I just love the experiences, the food, everything. And so that I merge it with a minimalist way with my modern touch. And so I would say that a combination of a modern traditional vibe is my style. Yeah, but I haven't had the chance to work with masi yet.
What do you think is something that gets in the way of you being a designer, gets in the way of you being an artist? Has there ever been anything that's been a stumbling block for you?
My mind. I'd say, especially during this year, I had wanted to join Fashion Week, but I realized that didn't work out because of COVID and funds and things like that. And so I just put that on hold, and then I realized that, when you've got nothing to look forward to, you kind of tend to, especially in an artist's mind, you can be a mad genius, and then you can just go to like a depressed, or you can just hit the low level really quickly all of a sudden. But I realized that you have to really overcome your mindset and really think positive, because if you don't, you'll end up staying in that same level. And I think the last thing for me that I refuse to be in is, I don't like to be stagnant, and I don't want to be in the same place that I am, say, 5-10 years from now. I like to do different things and grow as a person.
Where do you think you are right now?
Well, I'm not stagnant, thank goodness.
Well, you're here doing this show.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for this. I really was ecstatic when I was called in for this show, because it's just something new, and I've always wanted to try being on a reality TV show.
And this is the first reality TV show.
Yes, it is, and I think this is going to be amazing. It's going to turn out great.
Yeah, I see, you know, it's interesting. I see a spark in your eyes when you sort of start to talk about it. So clearly, creating is something that gives you a lot of joy.
Yes.
Do you feel like creating and creativity broadly is helpful for mental health, particularly during these times? You know, we've had a lot of conversation about mental health around COVID.
Yes.
About the impacts that COVID has had on the way that people feel. Do you think that creating helps?
Absolutely. It keeps, well, for me, it keeps me astute and very up to date with my skills, because, you know, I can study as much as I want, but if I don't put it into practice, you can easily lose those skills, because, you know, practice makes perfect. And yeah, I do believe that design is good for mental health, because it's a way for us to express ourselves. I know people say that all the time, and it's so cliche, but I feel like it helps me release stress. It helps me feel good about myself, and it helps me feel like I'm doing something. So even if nothing's happening, at least I'm doing all this planning or organizing or drawing or ideas, so that when something does happen, I'm ready.
That's excellent. And we really look forward to seeing what it is that you have for us on the show.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Stylish. If you're just joining us, today we are having a look at our 4 contestants who are part of the Designer Challenge. We've just spoken to Candice Veramu. Next we have Sedi Borese.
I'm from Matawalu in the province of Ba, with maternal links to Waisomo in Kandavo.
Oh, that's excellent. You've given the best introduction so far.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
So you've been a designer for some time.
Yes.
I mean, I remember you designing as a student. I remember judging some of your work as a student designer. You've also illustrated. You've shown collections, I believe, as an emerging designer as well. At the Fiji Fashion Week, and you've had quite a successful run of it.
Yes.
So tell me, what has that journey been like for you?
This journey that I ventured out on back in high school, it's been challenging, but I've had achievements and I've been successful. I can say I haven't completed it yet. I haven't achieved what I wanted fully, but
What did you want to achieve?
At the end of all of it, I want to be able to have a viable form of income out of fashion. I want to have a business with fashion. I do not want to be, how do they call it? A one season kind of person. Not to only show at Fashion Week and then you're nothing, and then, oh, where's Sedi? And then, oh, okay, Fashion Week next year, then you'll expect his work. I've always been just that and nothing more to it. So now, given this opportunity to be able to compete, it's been a wake-up call also. Where do I stand? Where do I prioritize fashion as well? And one of the challenges is I'm literally entering this competition without my parents' knowledge. And
So the first time they learn of your participation will be when it's on air?
When it's gonna be on air, or when one of my relatives tells them that I'm on TV. It's been hard trying to get through to them, you know, having to reach somewhat of an understanding with them, knowing that, you know, this is my gift, this is my talent, allow me to explore it with your support. So, hi mom and dad. But yeah.
What is the difficulty? What is the challenge with parents broadly when it comes to people pursuing creative careers?
For my family, I was raised up with people who were involved in the education system, in the media. So the priorities and expectations of the children, of parents to their children would be, you know, this. You have to sort of set the standards this high, and they expect us to go above that. And for me to come out and be like, okay, I'm interested in fashion, I want to pursue something in fashion. Firstly, it's never a man's thing, which my parents usually say, you know, you're a man, you can't be going and be sewing dresses. That's, you know, that's not meant for men to do. And the second argument that they would always bring up is, you can't earn your bread and butter from just sewing and making clothes, because there's never a market, hardly a market for that. So the difficulty has been there, but you know, I've been obedient, I've been a good child to them, which is why I made sure that I achieve my degree first before I venture out into fashion, because I know that I have a backup plan if I do not succeed. But to not succeed is never it's not an option for me. I want to achieve. If I can achieve something academically, I'm sure as hell gonna achieve this with the fashion industry.
Well, that's very, very positive, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what it is that you have to do. So, you know, what is it that we can expect from you this season?
Whew. This season, being one of the pioneers for fashion reality TV show, my style, I have to remain true to myself. I work well with textures, prints, and textures and prints. Are they the same thing?
No, they're different.
Okay, textures and prints, and I'm very theatrical. One of the first designers that I got to know when I started out was Alexander McQueen. So like, he's sort of inspired me. I know we don't have the craftsmanship yet in Fiji to reach his sort of standards, but I'm sure as hell gonna whip up something that'll just, I have to prove to my parents that I'm here to win, and I have to make that statement to win this competition. So I expect something theatrical and something that's gonna be mind-blowing.
So you're in it to win it?
Yes, for sure, definitely.
Welcome back to Stylish. I'm your host Faz. If you're just joining us, we have been talking to 4 of our contestants for our designer challenge, which begins next week, Tuesday. Next up, we speak to Susao.
Hi, I'm Susao, as you've mentioned, and I'm currently 23. Oops, nope, I'm actually 24. I'm also studying at USB, and I'm a major in psychology.
Oh wow, and you're already lying about your age. You started when you turned 30, not when you're 23.
Well, sometimes I feel like I'm stuck at a certain age at certain points, so yeah. It's okay, everybody does it.
It's interesting you say, so you're a psychology student, but
Yes, I
here
am.
you are on a fashion show.
Yes, who would have thought?
So tell me about that. How do you sort of merge these worlds of psychology and fashion?
Well, I guess I don't. There are like purely different aspects for me. I feel like psychology kind of was just like a personal thing, just to understand just the mindset of people and how they think and how they work, and just try to be a more understanding person, basically. And for fashion, it was kind of more of a creative outlet. I never really thought of it as what I'm doing today. It was just something to just pass the time. I was always doodling. You can see all my notes, you can see little sketches there. But yeah, it was something that I found that was really great. A good stress reliever for sure. So I guess that kind of like got me here today.
So essentially, it's your chosen art form.
Yes.
You're quite well-rounded though, because you're also a swimmer.
Former swimmer. I currently teach now and coach, so I think that's really great for me. Even though I don't compete anymore, I kind of like the idea of giving back to a sport that has given me so much. So yeah, so far it's been really great, and kudos to all the coaches out there who had to deal with us kids, because we can be pretty mean. I'm not gonna lie, we can be pretty mean, can be a little bratty, but thanks for putting up with us.
You said you gave thanks to swimming for everything that's given you. What do you think swimming has given you in life?
Wow, there's a lot. Opportunities, lifetime friendships, I guess work ethic, discipline. With swimming, it's a very time-consuming sport. You train in the morning, go to school, train in the afternoon. So it kind of became like a routine where swimming was kind of like the center of everything I did revolved around swimming. Still kind of does, especially if I have to do events or stuff. I kind of check my swimming schedule before I check everything else. So I think it kind of just really contributed to how I prioritize things in my life. So I'm just grateful for it.
In doing this show, you're kind of like putting both feet in.
Yeah.
to a whole other like creative pursuit,
Yeah.
And it is interesting that you said that your psychology life is separate to your fashion life, which I imagine are both separate to your swimming life.
Yes.
So you're a woman of many talents, and you have your fingers in multiple pies. But when it comes to fashion in particular, what do you hope to achieve?
It's a really interesting question. I feel like that's something I kind of ask myself on the daily. It's really difficult, I guess, having so much creative ideas and thoughts and trying to just mold it and create something of it that's somewhat feasible and something that people can understand. But through it, I just hope that maybe like-minded people can also see that this is also like a form of opportunity to pursue later on in life. Because as we talked about earlier, like the arts isn't necessarily seen as something that can be used, to maintain like a lifestyle. So yeah, I mean, this show kind of proves that it is possible, and numerous other shows that contribute to the fashion and arts. So I think it's great.
Absolutely. You're sort of coming in as the underdog of the season.
Yeah. Oh.
You have 3 other contestants who have shown collections.
True.
Or have produced garments for
I
longer.
went to fashion school.
And then we have some who went to fashion school too, went to fashion school. So how does that make you feel? Do you feel like you have more to prove?
Yeah, probably, because these people actually kind of have more of an understanding of how the industry actually works, and I feel like they've also had more time to kind of choose or kind of like know which creative direction they want to go with, where I, on the other hand, I'm kind of still new, so I'm still trying to find what works for me and trying to figure out which market I like to cater to and stuff like that. So,
but as a former swimmer, of course, you're in it to win it. It's a competition.
Yeah, coming from a competitive family, everything's a competition, even if you're like, no, we're doing it for fun, but really, I mean, it's not fun. It's fun, but we're all here to win. So, yeah.
Well, I'm so looking forward to seeing what it is that you're going to make for us.
Hopefully, me too.
Welcome back to Stylish. If you're just joining us, we have embarked on a designer challenge. Today we are speaking to our 4 contestants. We have spoken so far to Selim Borese, to Candice Veramu, and to Susao. Next up, we speak to Paris Nassarawa.
My name is Epi Nassarawa. Growing up, I grew up in the rural areas of both Fiji level and Vanua level. My dad was a pastor, so we had to move around, pack up every 3 to 5 years and move to a new place. So that's basically me. You know.
Why the nickname Paris?
Paris. I throughout high school I had I sort of like had like a, is it an infatuation? Should I use the word? Yeah, with Paris Hilton. So I used to cut out pictures of
So
her.
you are Fiji's Paris Hilton.
So it was the kids in my classmate the girls who named me Paris. They say like, oh, you want to be Paris all the time. Paris this, Paris pictures on your exercise books, Paris thing on your lunchbox. So we'll start calling you Paris. So that's how I ended up with the name Paris.
Well, Paris has become a very famous DJ.
She's everything. Like literally, like, you know, and the thing I love about her is because like she's successful in whatever she tries to do, regardless of what people are saying. Shouldn't be acting. She acts in a movie and then it's like a box office hit.
But that is your aspiration.
Yeah.
That's excellent. So you've done many creative jobs. You're best known in the music industry now as somebody who has produced some incredible music videos.
Oh, thank you.
So tell me about the connection rather between music and fashion, and which love of yours comes first?
Well, to answer the last question, definitely I've always told everybody that my first love is fashion.
You can tell.
Yeah. I don't know, for the reason being is that I'm just passionate about it, but even though like I'm on a hiatus at the moment, but I was introduced to fashion like when I was in class 6 when we were living in rural Mbua in the village of Narwai. I was introduced to my first copy of a Vogue magazine, and that's how I started my journey with fashion. But in terms of music, I don't know like how, I'm still trying to answer that question myself. How did I end up like being doing music and stuff? But I do know that one of my biggest inspirations like for fashion, for my clothes, comes from music videos. Yeah.
Excellent. So we've talked about this hiatus before.
Yeah.
So you were designing, you released some incredible collections, and then you stopped. Why did you stop?
So I got my debut as a fashion designer during the Fiji Fashion Week show in 2016, and then I showed again in 2017. And then towards the end of 2017, I lost my dad, and there was the weekend of the Miss Fiji that they had hosted here in Nandi was on the same weekend that my mom and dad were leaving. We were living in Nausori at the time, and they were leaving home to go to our village in Vanuatu. So like during the whole week I was planning, like I had been given the opportunity to make a dress for Miss Fiji for the carnival. So I had like spent the whole week organizing the dress and getting it down to Nandi before Saturday morning, which was when my parents were supposed to leave. Somehow like I was just like something was telling me, you need to be home when my mom and dad were to leave the house. So I had made plans to go down earlier before Saturday. So the plan was to go on Thursday, but things did not work out according to the plan that I had. So I ended up going on Friday to drop the dress. There was some delays again, and then I missed the opportunity to say goodbye to my dad. Yeah. And then there's so many other things that happened. And then he died on the Wednesday, I think, Tuesday or the Wednesday. Yeah, and the dress, I haven't been able to sort of like pick it up from the person that's currently like holding on to it. So I haven't had the courage to go and see the dress for the past 3 years now.
There are times when great loss and tragedy in our lives, particularly as creatives, can stop the creative movement. But I feel like now is your time.
Yeah,
You feel ready?
that's part of the reason why I decided to do this show as well. Like, you know, I needed to
Get back to your first love.
Because I was starting to like feel that I was drifting far, far away, and somehow I knew that dread. I mean, like for me, I knew that it was that experience, like that gave me like that sense of like this feeling of guilt, and you know, sort of like robbed me from the opportunity to say goodbye to him.
So are you dedicating your participation now back to your parents?
Definitely. I'm so blessed to like grow up with the parents that I've been blessed with, because like they've been like very supportive, like with everything that I involve myself in from a very early age. So yeah, definitely this is dedicated to my dad, to my father.
And you just came out of a fall. I thought I'd never go down this road. I thought I was always strong, I'd never fall. I prayed many nights, many days before. The false pretense I was alright, I was okay. Gave a smile and laughter when they see it. I was never weak, I made the perfect fit. Hidden.
Bulvinaka, and welcome back to Stylish. If you're just joining us, today we've been on an adventure with 4 incredible designers where we have been preparing them for the Designer Challenge. So how is everybody feeling?
Good, actually.
Tired. I'm tired.
Tired. You know what? Let's talk about why we're tired. Let's talk about why everyone is so. I'm not that exhausted, to be honest, because I had only one thing to do. But these wonderful human beings today had to shoot our promo, which essentially is an ad that you're going to have a look at right after this episode. So, what is it like?
Exhausting because there was so many takes of like one particular scene, so we had to run like 5 times.
Have you done that sort of thing before?
No, like I've never, like I am usually like the person behind the camera in my line of work. But like today, like I have so much respect for the people that I actually like.
For the talent, darling, and you're all the talent today.
Oh my God, and they're running.
And Candace got kicked in the face.
Yeah, I did. It's still a bit sore, but
I feel bad.
Look, I mean, before we end this build-up episode and sort of launch into the Designer Challenge, which is on air next week, I wanted to speak to you guys about why fashion. You know, like for the 4 of you, if you sit back and you had to think about it, why fashion as an art form?
why not fashion? Fashion is everything for me. I can remember ever since I was like a young girl, I just looked online and I just scroll through like anime cosplays or like cute outfits that I'd always want, and then I just saved them, but I never really realized I was into fashion until after I'd studied graphics. And then I found out that there was a course here in Fiji, APTC, that teaches fashion, and then that's when I was really thrown into fashion. Like, I just loved it. Because before I didn't think that I didn't think that they had those opportunities here.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful.
For me, fashion was something that it's still a conflict with my family. They still don't accept me doing fashion because they don't see it as a viable form of employment or income. So it's been a tough ride, but one of my biggest secrets, or one of the biggest challenges, is having to confront my parents about this being a talent and not just something that's just one-off, you know. That's just something of like exploring for me. Because I've been doing fashion since I was in Form 4, participating in student shows. And from Form 4, 5, 6, 7, for those 4 years, I've been doing it behind my parents' back. Especially my mom and my dad. And they've never known it until I was pictured in the papers or on the TV, and then they would be like, okay, is this something that you love? And I'm like, yeah. No, but you can't do that because men are not supposed to be in that field, you know? It's kind of like a conflict, but it taught me so much more than just you know, having it as a talent. It's more of like respect to the people that you dress and having an open mind towards the world of fashion, because it's so much more than just designing. It's about, you know, where you stand in. For me, I love sustainable fashion. It's something that I've just I've come to know about like last year. So it's something interesting. There's many aspects of fashion that's yet to be discovered. That's why I'm all in it, because I want to know more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, like, you made a couple of really interesting points. I think that, you know, one of the things is the conversation in particular about fashion not being a viable option, but they say that about most of the arts, right? Yeah. However, I mean, as somebody who runs a successful fashion business, and as, you know, I have colleagues who run successful fashion businesses, the fact is that it is not only a viable source of income, but it is also a viable business. And beyond that, also the thing about men, I know that this is something that has come up before, particularly with some men's school or boys' schools not allowing necessarily or encouraging participation in fashion events and things like that. You know, some of the greatest designers in the world have been men, like Karl Lagerfeld, you know, Alexander Michel, Olivier Rousteing. You've got Christian Dior. Like, you've got a whole bunch of incredible pioneers who were men, and of course women as well. It's one of those few sort of industries where you've got a sort of almost an equal participation of men and women, and also a mutual respect for all types of people. You know, has that been your experience?
Well, for me, I had a bit of a struggle with fashion design. Especially a few years back, I'd had people come up to me and be like, oh, don't feel bad because you're a designer. Because they looked down on designers.
Don't feel bad because you're a designer?
Yeah,
okay.
they would tell me that. I think maybe because these people had more like white collar jobs and were, you know, and so they looked down on the arts and they looked down on people like us. But I just thought, but you're wearing clothes right now.
Yeah.
Who designed your clothes?
No, it's so
like
true.
It's just like how they think that, you know, even like, I know it's off topic, but even farming, like, you know, farming is a noble job. I don't understand how they think.
Working in an office is the only way to live.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's just like
maybe they just
mindset.
Yeah.
You know, like in order to live a somewhat happy and successful life, like having an office job provides you that form of like sustainability in some way.
It's a sort of like 8 to 5 understanding of life. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that because some people are built for that life.
Office life.
But I remember speaking to a young designer some months ago who was sort of toying with the idea of remaining a designer or moving into a different field. And I said, look, if you want to be a designer, if you want to be any kind of designer, any kind of artist, you know, like a graphic designer or a fashion designer or, you know, a fine artist or whatever, even if you're a performer for that matter, it's no longer an 8 to 5 job. It's a job, actually, it's, you know, creatives are some of the hardest working people in the world because you never stop working. You go to work to sell your product, you go home and you research how to improve your product, you figure out how to develop new product. You know, you're always putting something new out there and you never actually stop working. You know, I mean, you know this, you've been working in the industry for ages.
I mean, like, I was going to like comment on like or rather like ask, like, do you think it's like sort of like a traditional mentality, or because like, you know, like how people like a lot of people like that I know like grow up like hearing from their parents that they have to be doctors, they have to be lawyers, you know,
Exactly.
those kind of jobs. But like, you know, like we tend to forget that some of us have like gifts that we can like, not everybody's going to become doctors and lawyers. Like some of us will have to use the gifts that we have to create business or make an income.
Yeah,
at the end of the day.
absolutely.
And
Yeah,
people, I guess like now, like during the pandemic that we're going through,
Yeah.
with people losing their livelihoods overnight, most of us are being forced to go back to reflecting on what are my gifts, you know?
Yeah.
What am I good at? Like I no longer have my 9-to-5 job.
Yes.
What can I do to make money so I can pay for bills and put food on the table? So people are going back to like weaving baskets, dancing.
Exactly, because design creates and design
Yeah.
sells.
Absolutely, and at the end of the day, you know, I mean, your gifts are where you find your purpose.
I think it's a wake-up call for everybody. Yeah?
Oh, yes.
This
Yes.
thing, like, you know, like that we need to, sort of like the government, like to look into the creative and the performance,
That's
arts
industry, yeah.
industries
And
in
it
general.
definitely comes back to education. I mean, the fact that we don't have art in the public education system is a major problem, because we have people with natural ability, natural talent. But as we all know, having a natural gift only takes you so far. Beyond that, you have to develop it. You know, I mean, if you don't go to school for it, you have to practice every single day. But how do you get that time if that time is not set out for you already in school? You know, so I mean, that's something that we all hope for. You know, we hope for an appreciation of art in schools, and I think that once we have that, you know, we'll have a new generation of people who appreciate the arts. But I think that the one thing that we can definitely be hopeful for is that you are all now a generation of people who can become the parents and the aunties and uncles of tomorrow, who can tell young people that everything is possible.
Make the change and be the change.
Make the change and be the change. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you so much for being a part of this incredible journey. We look forward to you joining us next week, where we start the actual designer challenge. But coming up right after this, stay tuned for the teaser for the next 2 weeks' episodes. Welcome to the first designer challenge. Are you ready? Your time starts now.